really lean towards that Annie more often than not, but let's go for the Ahri at least for now.
His majority of his games this split have been on Annie, so this feels not an entire departure from the style we've seen from LGD this split, and hopefully this means that they can play a little bit more aggressive, especially if we're talking about Meteor potentially being that carry for this team. Whereas Weibo, you touched on it earlier, this team, hey, they don't do the most in the early game. You know, we know this team to have a ton of good veterans, a ton of awesome, solid players, but they are a lot relying on their team fighting, on their ability to find wins against a bunch of different teams where we're going to play team fighting. We're not going to try to go for anything super early. This is maybe LGD's kind of way to get in there, especially if we're talking about TheShy and his, you know, regular TheShy antics with a new top laner coming in.
Yeah, and you got to remember that LGD, 4 out of their 5 series have gone to 3 games, including going to 3 games against JDG. So, like, if there's a team that will take Weibo to 3 games, maybe LGD is it. I feel like every year in the LPL, we always have that one team that can't get the wins, but always looks like they're going to get the wins. Like, it's historically it was Rogue Warriors, I feel like, always ticked that box. We'll see if LGD can live up to that now. Kindred taken away from Meteor. Not surprising because he's had some incredible performances on that pick.
All right, well, we'll see what they can do. I think next up for LGD is looking at some of those top laners, maybe getting rid of that Cassante unless they want to give Decade a pretty unique matchup, thinking more along the sides of a Gwen. But for Weibo, I'm starting to think, what are some other champions that Meteor in particular has shown some success on? There was a Trundle game that didn't necessarily go the best for LGD, but looking at what Weibo have right now, that pillar can be a pretty big thorn in their side. And if you're looking to try to take away answers for LGD to get into this game, you're thinking you're going to pick a tank top laner, maybe like a Sion here for TheShy. That's what I would think they would go for, but instead taking away the Kha'Zix, which has been kind of a, I don't want to say a fringe pick because we've been seeing it a lot this split so far thanks to the changes, but definitely someone that falls outside of that box we've been seeing so many of the meta junglers with Wukong and Envyy.
Yeah, we certainly have. I don't really know where Meteor would go, but I know that Meteor is a player that, I mean, I remember back in 2020, Meteor was the guy that brought out Maokai jungle, and this is all like pre-rework. Nobody would play Maokai. Like,
nobody.
Meteor is a guy that for years has been willing to kind of push the boat out on what he's willing to play, so I'm ready to find out. The Wukong taken off by Weiwei does make it a little bit more difficult for him, but here we go. Deciding to round out the bottom lane and leave counter pick for TheShy. They're making sure that Decade has a real tough entry into the LPL.
Hey man, good luck playing whatever you want. We're just going to give TheShy the counter that he is just going to be able to pick. Could also just say, like, we're going to pick a pretty bog standard tank up in the top lane. Still that Sion and Cassante available. So for LGD, we'll see what they end up going for. They still have that jungle pick. And the replacement for when Vaya's banned so far has been, let's take this Nocturne. Let's just go ahead, try to dive into the backline. And so when you have this Nocturne plus this Ahri, that level 6 for LGD is going to be incredibly strong. Even if we get JinJiao involved, I think this should be a pretty interesting matchup if we can see LGD make it to the level 6 mark and look for dives onto Weibo.
See if they'll be able to find that big power spike on the level 6. I mean, we said that Meteor likes to bring out wacky picks. The Nocturne. It's not that wacky. We have seen some Nocturne this split.
Yeah.
But I like that he's got a carry, you know? I like that he has some tools at his fingertips where he can try and take over. The Gnar blind pick taken by Decade against TheShy, who historically loves the Gnar blind pick. He's going to go for the Cassante to take that matchup into his own hands. And we have our comps locked in. How are we feeling, Alk? Have we got a preference so far? Because I feel like a lot dive against Aphelios Renata. I'm liking what Weibo have.
Yeah, Renata, I think, does a lot for this composition right now. And then we're talking about Annie as well, Xiaohu, who will just be able to come in, say, hey, you want to be able to play against me? If you want to be Rakan jumping in, well, here's the Annie Incinerate. Here's the Annie just stopping every single point of engage. So for LGD, they need to be making sure that they're keeping pace on the game, keeping it very aggressive. I might want to be able to see Haichao and Meteor move into the enemy jungle and try to stop Weiwei from having any real fun this game, making sure they're tracking this Wukong and do something, because when we've seen LGD start to win, it has been through Meteor in the early game so they can set up for Envyy.
See if they can set up for Envyy. I think as well, Envyy, a player coming in over from Korea, like quite hyped up. And so far, in my mind, has been a little lackluster. Now, granted, not all of his games have been games where he's had the ability to shine individually, but he has had a few leads where I don't feel like it's been an Envyy diff, it's been an AD carry diff, right? Where, you give gold to AD carry in this meta, they're going to show up. So I'd love to see a little bit more from Envyy today, especially on that Xayah. You certainly can make that happen. But I'm here for this comp from LGD. Like, full dive, they're going in. We asked coming into today for a more defined identity for LGD. If it's another dive team like OMG was last year, I'm here for that. I'm on board for that. So we'll see what they can do here against Weibo. Weibo 2-2 in the standings, and they really want to climb up to those upper echelons. LGD first on the chopping block, but certainly won't go down without a fight.
Man, I said this was a shade, but getting to hear the JinJiaos in my ear instead of being like a, as a viewer, always insane. Always a great pleasure to have that. For LGD, they're not fully winless, right? Like, they have won some games. We've talked about it before. They have a lot of games that have gone to a series that have gone to 3, but they just haven't been able to clinch it in the end. Finally close out on a series. They got very close last week and unfortunately fell to RA. It was like they gave up a dragon, they gave over the Baron. I was like, no, the game crumbled all around them. This team wants to be able to grab a win, and it feels so tough when you not only look at this game, but their schedule ahead. It does not get any easier for them.
I think the thing as well is, like, a lot of those games that they won were very confident wins. That's the big thing that has been so disappointing for me about LGD this year is, or not this year, this split. They have been so close, and like against JDG, that wasn't like a really close, hard-fought. Like, they kind of destroyed JDG in the game that they took against them. So it's one of those things where when you see them do that, you know that there's the potential there. You know that this roster can do that. And then when they don't do it consistently, it's just hard to watch, man. You have to wonder what's going on in comms, what's going on behind the scenes where they can't consistently look like that. When their highs are that high, how come they can't hit that regularly?
They do have a lot of fresh faces, right? We already talked about Decade. JinJiao, I think, has to be kind of a leader for this team as someone who has been in the LPL forever. Like, this guy is always around, always playing on a couple of teams, but I really want to see what this team looks like. Obviously, a very rough start, but hey, we're in week 3. If there's any time to turn it around, every game matters. Every series, if that's the part where you start to get your season back in, maybe you make a final push to squeak into playoffs, it starts here. It starts with literally every series.
Yeah, it certainly does. Every game matters as well, like, especially when it comes to the race for 10th place in terms of just making it into playoffs, which, let's be honest, at 0 and 5, that's the best LGD is going to be looking for at this point, is like bottom end of playoffs. Every game will matter. Game difference is really going to influence those head-to-heads. So we'll have to see. Is really nice disengage from Crisp there, but Envyy doing some big damage in the trade. Might able to get a little bit bonus on the end of it. As Meteor comes in, has priority in that bottom side. You should believe that he'll be able to get this grab.
Yeah, especially if his bot lane does need to move. Haichao even starting to kind of feign towards his side. That was just an excellent trade from JinJiao, landing the Grand Entrance, gets that knockup. Weiwei even sitting here, recognizes he doesn't have to do anything. If they know where the enemy jungler is, all we have to do is show. Oh, he barely showed there. Okay, finally they spot Weiwei. I was going to say, if they don't see him, this is the sneakiest gank of the world.
I like the attempt, though. I like the thought process there. They're like, let him get the scuttle crab, give them that false sense of security, and then sneak on in. If he wasn't recalling in that brush, it would have worked. But alas, can't make it happen in the end. It will be Envyy and JinJiao getting away with their lives. Weiwei goes up towards the top crab to at least even the stakes in that regard. But Meteor's already reset and head back onto the map this Decade. And he's got to start up against one of the greatest top laners of all time. It's a tough entrance to the LPL.
Oh, and they're going to try to make this dive now. Earlier on, Meteor did ping this out. They knew where the Wukong was going to go. Meteor is going to pop this Scryer's Bloom and not quite catch out onto Weiwei, but good job from Meteor. They are on a ward, so Weibo are feeling more than comfortable. They know exactly where they need junglers. They can see where all the laners. We're saying, hey, if this game goes even as the game goes on, we are more than happy with the state of where we are.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the way that team fights will function, right, with we talked about it before, the Aphelios Renata loves to play against dive. It will kind of be a competition of how fast can you kill Aphelios? Can you kill Aphelios? And for Weibo, how well they can protect that Aphelios. But I've got to be honest, Renata is so difficult to play against when you're playing like Nocturne, Gnar, and this Rakan as well. Like, Renata is just a thorn in your side. So later on, I'm favoring Weibo, but LGD can certainly try and make things happen. And at that level 6 point, which we are very close to for Meteor now, you can see Haichao, Decade, both hitting level 6 there. Once Meteor does as well, things could really kick off for LGD.
Yes. Haichao did actually just TP back into the lane and is going to take a recall here. The Ahri having level 6, obviously we talked about Nocturne getting that ultimate. This should be a point for them. We already see JinJiao getting down vision. Flash from TheShy trying to land Q3 there. I always make a joke that Cassante matchups doesn't necessarily about what the matchup is. If you can land Q3, that's it. That's how you win.
Yeah, Cassante favored in all matchups, the lads, is Q3. As the battle for control wards continues, and both will lose. The control wards go down here. It's Weibo fighting for vision control, and I love the amount of like mirroring we've seen from weiwei and Meteor. I said that this is a personal matchup between the two. As Tibbers comes down, it's just going to be to poke Haichao out of lane. Weiwei replacing Meteor on BLG back in 2021, and now these two going toe-to-toe in 2023 in the LPL. And we'll see who gets the best of it so far, just matching each other.
Yeah, Weiwei's like, hey man, I got a couple wins on the board. My team's doing good. My team's looking good. Meteor wanting to buck that trend, wanting to maybe turn their season around. Obviously, it is a much slower early game. I thought maybe LGD were going to go for an aggressive look, but the bot lane had just taken a pretty okay trade, and Haichao recalling there, thanks to Xiaohu on this with this ultimate, meant that they couldn't have the Ahri roam, couldn't have the Ahri come down. So Meteor finally ticks over with that ultimate. But TheShy, not necessarily in the best spot for them to go for a gank, so need to be careful around mid, and Weiwei should be getting that Cyclone sooner rather than later.
Should be. Meteor is 6-2. He could head up to the top side, but look at the feathers coming in onto light. He's red and white, which means LGD will disengage, but it's a great little trade coming out from them. Envyy and JinJiao looking good today.
Okay, if this is how you find a win for these two bot laners, we need to be investigating more Xayah Rakan for these two. They're great duelists with each other, and hey, it gives Envyy the ability to peel, which is not the same that we could be said for an Aphelios, a Jinx. This is looking promising for them, but it is an even early game. We're hyping up a lot of almosts here in this first game.
Ward dies in the top lane, so weiwei knows that there's no vision there now, but Ward lasted just a couple of seconds too long for him. As Envyy will be able to grab himself a plate. And I'm permanently keeping an eye on Meteor on the minimap, because that Nocturnal is online. He can make a big play. The thing is, that bot lane is completely pushed in, so it's very difficult for him to do anything on the bottom side unless they want to go for a dive.
Yeah, Haichao's also having a really tough time getting Xiaohu out or pushing him under turret, matching the clear constantly. Meteor's going to show on this ward, but I think for LGD right now, they're not only going to have Haichao probably dropping a few spells on the wave. Meteor should potentially stay here to help him push out those waves so they can look for something, because I am going to akin Nocturne similarly to Twisted Fate. If you can survive the first ultimate, as the enemy team, you are chilling. You are more than happy with that. You're like, okay, cool. We got past the first ultimate. Whew, water off my back. We can play the rest of this game without a Nocturne that is incredibly fed.
Yeah, it's one of those things as well where you want to see the Ahri and the Nocturne kind of linking up, right? We say that a lot when it comes to Ahri and Annie and Nico in the mid lane. Like, these mid laners are so good with a carry jungler that can follow up on their CC, right? And Haichao has the tools to set Meteor up as the carry. It's kind of similar to almost the Kha'Zix, where you want to be working as that pair. So far, Haichao not really been able to get out of lane. JinJiao going to move in to try and fight for Prio as Meteor still on the Herald, but it feels like Weibo want to contest.
It keeps like unleashing itself. It gets out of leash range, it resets. This should have been their objective. Yeah, Crisp didn't have level 6 for this fight, now does. If that ultimate wasn't there, that should have been the timer for LGD. And now Weibo feel more than comfortable, especially with Decade here.
It's a good engage, and that's the jungler down already. The wave across the team. Moonlight Vigil wide, though. Tibbers will just get shredded, but JinJiao so low. Weibo, against the low health bars of LGD, feel confident to step up to the Herald themselves, despite a lack of jungler.
Yeah, they got a kill, and the health bars, the mana is just too low. Only Envyy really being able to step up. They use so many of their abilities to find that one kill, and nothing else is going to come of it. There was an investment of the ultimates. I thought that was a pretty suspect fight just because we did have Crisp's ultimate available for them. And Decade was running out of that Gnar bar. They had a very short window for them to find that kill. And we can take it out in the replay here. It was a lot of good Fog of War toggling, actually, from LGD.
Yeah, so it's a great combo onto the jungler. Like, he's just gone straight away with the Tibbers, the hostile takeover there. They do manage to escape. If that Moonlight Vigil hits, that could go really badly from LGD at that point, because there was Gravitum available off the back of it as well. But it does lead to just a single kill. Herald's still up on the map. Dragon's still up on the map. And LGD, I mean, you say, like, it's a tough one because the hostile takeover was up and available, but I feel like that's going to be the story of this game. It's most of the time, most of these fights, it is going to be available as LGD have to find a way in.
It'll be tough for them. Speaking a little bit towards how the pace of this game has gone, these are some of our slowest average game time teams, so not a lot to expect in the early game. They're going to be doing this on Vision here, and TheShy did just teleport top lane, so this should be their dragon to take for LGD, but everyone is moving towards this bottom side. Weiwei is actually going to be finishing his clear down here, moving up towards the top side with his red buff coming up. Hopefully TheShy can get some good damage down onto Decade so they can open up for a Rift Herald play.
See if they can. Drake taken, so LGD at least getting themselves that one objective. And like you say, not the quickest teams that we've got in the league. I'm curious about Decade, though, to see how he'll perform on this Gnar. He's survived the laning phase against TheShy, and TheShy has made some attempts, like flashing for the all-in in a previous one. They were trying to set up a dive before, like Decade. He's doing a decent job, just holding his ground, maintaining CS. Had to pick blind into TheShy as well, so doing well for himself so far. We'll see how he's going to perform in those team fights on the Gnar. I like that use of the ultimate just to disengage, make sure he maintains his safety. As you can see, team not really interested in contesting this Herald.
Weibo will get this, so get some extra gold in their back pockets if they're able to crash this. It is a minute before the plates fall, so I'm a little worried that Weibo won't get the full gold that I think a lot of people would expect from a Herald, unless they're going to immediately try to crash this mid. I think the best idea is for you to save the TheShy. Gets the flash again out from Decade here. And I was just about to say, he's been doing all right. We just talked about how he's gone even in this lane, but we have to see how he goes once we get into the later game, not only the team fights, but TheShy is that player that is always checking, are you paying attention? Do you know that I have lethal here? Because I will force you to recognize that fact. Yeah,
absolutely. Decade flashing before lethal range, though, right? Like, you do see a lot of players, especially newer players in the league, like, waiting a long time on the flash. They don't want to be the one that, like, wastes the flash and dies, right? But Decade flashing preemptively enough that he's not under any significant threat right now. So it'll be down to whether there's a follow-up play from TheShy, whether there's a gank up topside from Weiwei.
Whoa!
TP being channeled. That's on Vision. There's a zombie ward there. A Decade actually TPs out of top lane. I love it.
Okay. All right, man. All right, I like Decade already. That was good. Already seeing it on Vision, bailed out by the zombie ward, like you were saying, so we'll lose out on that teleport. Xiaohu did just teleport mid, so there's going to be a match there. And if Light felt more confident. I was going to say, step up to this turret. Let's get some turret damage. There's no plates here for it to get extra gold, but I want to see, you know, when we're talking about how important AD carries are, the more gold you have into them, the better. Light did have the early coal, so he will have a small advantage over Envyy, but Envyy has a little bit of a CS lead by himself.
Certainly does. 11 to talk about right now, which I'm guessing just sort of off of the pressure that's been going down across that bottom lane. You did see him grab a couple of plates during the laning phase as well, so Envyy doing well in the matchup. Obviously has that Zyra Rakan, so you anticipate a decent laning phase. But again, Envyy a player that we're really hoping to see some good stuff from today. Like, he was hyped up coming into the league, and he has had some good moments, but he's not been... You know, we're in a league that's got some incredible AD carries. I feel like to stand out, you have to play out of your mind. And I want to see some of that from Envyy. I want to see some of these big moments. The laning looked good today. We'll see how the team fighting goes. My one concern here, Alk, is we're 15 minutes in now. We haven't seen a single paranoia. Meteor hasn't even pressed R.
I think we got one. I think we got one during
the
no,
sorry, yeah,
fight,
we got one during the Herald fight. Yeah,
but it wasn't exactly. It's like you just said. It didn't feel like much. It was pretty. It didn't do all that much. We will see the later effects as the game goes on. There's a lot of vision being invested into this top side with no Rift Herald here, and a lot of this is just to protect our AD carries that are both bouncing around between mid and top. We have the dragon spawning in a minute, and I want to see what LGD can do, because if they're able to grab this, then there's a potential for 10 minutes on, we could potentially see them grab a Dragon Soul and force Weibo into some uncomfortable situations.
Certainly could. But a very relaxed game here.
Oh, for sure.
16 minutes on the clock, 1-0, no towers taken. But LGD are actually kind of chilling, despite the fact that it was Weibo that got that Herald. They're actually 1,500 gold up right now. LGD winning out in terms of the general early game. And like you say, that CS advantage for Meteor. JinJiao, 100% kill participation in the one kill that happened. Good stuff there from JinJiao.
This is similar to that CSD stat for support, so yeah. good for JinJiao.
But yeah, second trade coming up. Let's see if LGD can leverage this small lead that they have. And emphasis on the word small there, because I don't feel like it's a big enough lead to...
Decade.
Oh, no. It's all got a bit Pete Tong.
That's a good reference. Holy. I've not heard that Pete Tong in a long time, actually.
It's
Respect.
Not as novel of a reference as you think it is. It's just a very English reference, that's all. People say that quite often.
Okay, well, I'm an American, so we do not get those here. We're barely getting good League of Legends over here, okay? I gotta take whatever I can.
I should have just pretended that was really creative and cool, but the Brits in the audience would know. They would know deep down that I'm not as cool as I'm pretending.
They're gonna call you a fraud instantly.
Yeah. Drake taken though by Weibo. And that means that a little bit of that lead has been chipped away out off the back of the kill as well. Decade, unfortunately, was so close to Meganar. Felt like he needed to face check, but the team was not with him there. LGD going to play cross map now. Should be able to get a tier 1, but it's answered by Weibo as well, so not really going to find much of anything off the back of it.
Yeah, first start will be going over to Weibo Gaming, and for a Decade, that was just a pretty big mistake, right? Like, they didn't have any vision over in the river. LGD were trying to play from mid into the bottom side river, and unfortunately, JinJiao was not in position to put down any wards. Decade, like you were saying, close to Meganar, but just didn't have it, and it was a good vision toggle, because JinJiao, he's here, he's about to hit this plant, and almost reveals some members. Xiaohu walks in, you're thinking, oh, this is totally fine. But it's a kill, it leads to a dragon, which takes away a little bit from that dragon soul stacking that we had kind of maybe set up for LGD grabbing later on. And now, with Rift Herald here, Weibo are the first ones to the play. They have access to this. Their mid laner, Ahri, is nowhere near this, and we'll have to expend a teleport. So
I was a little scared there. Envyy was going for the blue buff. TheShy was just stood in the brush. I was real nervous for him. But Weibo, just complete control. Complete and utter control. It'll be spotted, but you're just too late to play, aren't you? Haichao is nowhere near. It does have TP, but realistically,
they might
Weibo
go for this. They might try to make a play after the Rift Herald's already taken. Decade's about to hit Meganar.
This is it. Paranoia's going to be popped. Herald went down as Wei trying to just disengage, or weiwei, sorry. We'll be able to do so, at least for now. Nobody's getting the Herald. TheShy will move over. He's confident. He's tanky. He grabs it. And Weibo kind of just posture aggressively. They go, you want to go? We're willing to go. We've got a hostile takeover. We've got a cyclone. Bring it on.
Meteor's like, oh, can I go in? Can I go in? And Weibo's like, do it. I dare you. I wish you would. I wish you would be the one to send the Nocturne into our backline. See what happens. And
the dark side.
All that.
Do it.
Give us the free kill. All it means is LGD, they lose out on a Rift Tail, they lose out on a little bit of gold. If you're not going to end up making that play, I think that they just end up losing out a lot more than just going to another side lane, maybe getting that final tier 1 in the bottom lane. It means Weibo come out pretty far ahead in my opinion. They're down in gold, but all of that is on Meteor, and if Meteor is never going to reactivate the ult button to fly in on someone, then this gold is basically even.
Yeah. And I have to say, we talked about it before, compositions in an even game later on, I like what Weibo bringing to the table versus LGD. It does feel like they have the tools to win this game, because not only do they have all of that disengage we talked about from Crisp coming through, but actually, if TheShy gets a flank or, you know, flash Tibbers or the Cyclone, like, there are ways for Weibo to start fights on their own terms as well. It feels like they have their cake and they're eating it here with this composition, where you're answering what LGD are doing, and you also can make things happen yourselves.
Yeah, Weibo are perfectly fine with this game going long, and it is on LGD. The emphasis to make plays is on them in the early game, and Xiaohu just goes straight forward.
That's that trigger pull we talked about. Envyy with a good Feather Storm, keeps himself alive. The Herald will get another charge here as TP comes through. Haichao's here to try and answer. The Herald will go down. Decade at least will trade the tier 1 mid for tier 1 in the bottom side. So we are still even on towers overall, as Weibo couldn't leverage it for more. 50 seconds until that Drake comes up, though. Would be second for either team.
LGD really need to find something off of this play. They use the teleport here from Haichao. He cannot afford another base. They need to be looking for either early vision into this river, but 40 seconds and some of them are just now starting their recalls. They're going to be late to the play, having to invest maybe another teleport if Decade is going to recall here. If they're not going to make this play here, I mean, Munch, what do they do? Because they're not contesting for early dragons. It looks like they're even pathing towards top side. Are they going to make this trade? Are they going to try and sneak a Baron?
I kind of like it. I'm here for it. Weibo are on the bottom side of the map right now, but Chris...
They don't know.
Crisp has been here before. He suspects something's going on, and he's on a mission to find out what. Drops a ward into the brush, spots out JinJiao, and LGD immediately peel away. And that is just the veterancy that we see from this roster, right? This ain't Crisp's first rodeo. He sees that nobody's around the Dragon area. He's like, hang on a second. They're trying to sneak something. Weiwei, knocked up, but we'll walk away.
That's the 1 in 1,000 play where Weibo just don't check and you grab a Baron and you catch them off guard. But now, it just feels like they're now corralled into this top side. Weibo, they have full control of mid. They can continue to push this wave. TheShy is getting that wave under, and they're just starting it. They're forcing it again. They're saying, Weibo, come and check us. You do not have another Scryer's Bloom. You don't have another blue trinket.
Weibo calling the bluff, but it ain't a bluff. They're just going to take the Baron here. LGD sneaking away. And we were talking about veterancy. We were talking about Weibo know what's going on. Apparently not.
The first Baron start was actually the red herring. They were like, oh, look, we're going to start Baron. Oh, no, look at you. You stopped our Baron. Boom. Take it again. And they will lose out on the third dragon here for Weibo, but hey, you have now a Baron that will empower your push, allow you to go for more of those split push, and we already see Decade here with this Hullbreaker becoming a much popular build recently amongst top laners. If you're going to go for that split push, let's just go for it. Do it. I like this. More investment into those side lanes.
I love it, especially when you just got a Baron. Like, that fits perfectly with how you're going to play the next few minutes of the game out. And I love this from LGD. Not just in terms of, you know, pulling the trigger on that Baron, being confident enough to do it, but also, like, they just hit 2 items on Envyy. They're spiking hard. They know that later on it's going to be hard to win just 5v5 team fights, so they're making Weibo pressured. They're actually doing things on the map. This is what we want to see, because honestly, the early game, I was getting really worried for LGD. I was thinking, oh no,
yeah,
they're kind of just gonna not really feel confident enough to make any plays, and then slowly but surely bleed out, and then we'll see Weibo win. Like, it feels like, okay, no, LGD are here to play. They were just waiting for a moment. They make a really great call. Now what can they do with it? This Baron buff can be valuable, but only if you can get the towers down.
Light is playing rather aggressively up in the minion wave in front of both Haichao and Envyy. Respect to him for kind of showing that kind of confidence in front of them. Obviously, it comes with some of the pedigree of being a long-standing AD carry here in the league. Weiwei's trying to go in. Cyclone, bit awry. Yeah, I mean, they're just going to continue this push. We talked about, hey, the team fight meta for all of LPL, but really for how Weibo has been wanting to operate in the league is so good with their composition. LGD just said, we don't want to even deal with that. Let's not even go for a team fight. Let's play on those splits. Let's continue to apply pressure in the mid lane here. And Weibo just can't do anything. I guess the next play for them, if you're Weibo, is looking for a Flash Tibbers play on this Annie. Other than that, LGD are going to farm up a little bit more of a gold lead. If they can break down this tier 1, Dragon up in 3 minutes, something for them to look for.
Yeah, huge amount of gold into the pocket of Decade there. As JinJiao looks for the 4-man dive. It's a huge engage. Can they find the kill? Looking for that Aphelios, and Light is down. Can he get the reset? He's charging forwards, but he's down. He's taken out of the play. Chris falls as well. And LGD are making it happen. Envyy to clean it all up. And LGD are on the board.
There they go. They now broken open this map. Decade the entire time has just been split pushing. He took another turret in front of TheShy. And TheShy just is standing there alone, 0-0-0. Like, what happened to my team? Weibo. They have, LGD now have blown up this map. It was one good fight. One huge ultimate from both Meteor and JinJiao completely turns this game on its head.
TheShy looking for an all-in angle onto Decade here, but realistically with Meteor over on the other side, I'm not sure he'll find that window. And I like this from LGD, not overcommitting for the inhibs, because on the one hand, it's dangerous to really commit to the play with the respawns coming on through, but also denying supers being given over to this Aphelios that really is the threat later on.
I love this engage. JinJiao the lights are turned off by Meteor. He stops the rest of the backline, some of the facilitators for Weibo from being able to interact with the beginning of this fight. And it turns into a huge team fight victory. I love how aggressive, specifically Haichao was playing with this Ahri, finally finding his mark in a game that has been relatively quiet from both teams, but I think Haichao's influence has been a little bit muffled so far. Finally finds his mark.
Yeah, Haichao, really great fight. Envyy as well, aggressive Feather Storm there, gets the Feather Pull onto Light to finish that Aphelios off with it. I think LGD basically acknowledging, look, it's not just about killing the Aphelios, it's about isolating the Aphelios. So like you say, the engage from JinJiao to not just hit Aphelios, because he didn't actually target Aphelios, he just takes away Aphelios' support so the rest of the team can jump on that AD carry. Really, really great stuff from LGD. And now another dive comes through. Meteor, first one in Decade on the flank as weiwei the target here. Cyclone to try and defend himself. Will walk away with his life. The hostile takeover leaves something to be desired, we'll say.
Chris has to have 1-1, right? Like, he had the really good one right there. Still ended up being a team fight loss. And then that one just goes wide. Now Weibo feel lost. They're not winning a lot of these fights anymore. If LGD do have a gold lead, typical of any gold lead, really, you can kind of just force your way through fights. You don't have to play the most clean. And now LGD, they have complete control of this side of the map. They're going to be able to grab themselves another dragon. But the most important part is Baron is spawning in 50 seconds here. Weibo, how are you going to get around this? I love that they're putting down wards so they can find flanks, get someone to get into a teleport position, maybe even get TheShy to finally interact with the rest of the team.
I mean, TheShy has been on full side lane duty, and we see why the Gnar was blind picked, right? You have so many great matchups. The K'Sante coming on through, not really able to answer. He was trying for the solo kills during the laning phase, but Decade never gave him the chance. I just want to remind everyone, or tell people that have just tuned in, that have missed the start of this game, this is Decade's first ever game of LPL. He has to play against one of the greatest LPL tops of all time in TheShy. Sure, his kill participation doesn't look fantastic, but he's been side laning all game long. He is massively ahead in CS. He's taken an inhib tower, and like, he's just playing fantastically. He is playing to mitigate TheShy, and it is working beautifully.
He is also currently stepping in for the franchise player of LGD. I mean, like, fearness coming in originally on that Weibo Gaming roster when it was Suning all those years ago, and now stepping in for fearness, it's like, okay, if this is another look for LGD, if, you know, it is only one game, the sample size is incredibly small from the games that we've seen from LGD, but it's a beautiful look, and it's something that we've wanted all season long for a team that really hasn't found any success in series, getting so close to finally putting one on the board.
So Weibo now moving in to try and clear some vision around Baron. You can see LGD have a control ward in the pit, but I believe Weibo do as well in the back half of that pit. It's Decade going to move back out onto the map. And this is where taking those two inhib towers earlier really pays dividends for LGD. Because Decade can just move to the bottom half of that map again. Like, clearly TheShy does not have threat onto this Gnar at this point. Like, it feels like Decade has that 1v1 in hand. He can get a bit of solo time to push away. He will take inhibs. He will punish Weibo.
And look at this right now. The wave is not in the great spot for him, but TheShy is already moving over. He's trying to say, like, do I need to move for this Baron play, or can I come straight down back into this bottom lane? Decade's not going to have Mega Gnar for the time being, and that's a spot where if TheShy does want to punish, he has to do it now in between that timer. But Decade moves back into Fog of War, says, I'm not going to give you the chance. Weibo
walks straight into the Tibbers here. Meteor's going to go down, and that is a disaster for LGD. I think just a little too aggressive on trying to fight vision, and now Weibo have a huge opportunity. They step towards the Baron pit. Haichao trying to do his best to buy space. Envy's here too, but this is 2v5. Decade is on full split push duty. It's like, okay, we've lost the Baron. What can we get instead?
Okay, grabs one, but now Weibo do need to exit. TheShy is going to be the first one to get back into base. And we'll see what... Yeah, pretty close. He should get Mega Gnar here, or Mini Gnar here, and TheShy is going to try and do what he can, but that's a Baron, but 2 inhibitors down. That's as good as it's going to get for LGD. Now with 2 super minion waves that are going to be pushing, taking away some of those inhibitors is really, really good to combat this Baron.
I have to say, this is a bit of a disaster from LGD. Like, the one thing this Weibo comp can't do without TheShy is face check. But they don't need to if you just walk into them.
If you're the one face checking, then hell yeah, let's keep going for it. We're going to just keep doing all that for ourselves. They even get the cleanse out of Envyy there at the end. So something that could be punished in the next upcoming fight. We do have that dragon spawning in a minute and a half. And neither of these teams are really close to Soul, so feels like if this game is going to be going a lot longer, we're going to be waiting quite a while until that Soul ends up being a reality.
Yeah. I remember Haichao bought that Medjais as well on 6 stacks about an hour ago. And we're still sat there on 6 stacks.
Got it in the pre-show.
Oh, hang on. LGD need to be cautious here as Decade ain't collapsed the pond, but will walk away with his life. Good control ward in the Tribe Rush. Buys himself space. And the rest of the team pressuring the rest of the map. So I like this setup from LGD, right? Using those supers, trying to build pressure on the base.
They're trying to get down vision. You see, okay, they are exploding the map with pings right now. Trying to make this play into TheShy.
Everyone went top to try and collapse on Decade, and it means that they can collapse onto TheShy instead. Knockup is there from JinJiao, but they don't want to commit. They don't want to overcommit to the play and end up caught out elsewhere. But so far, I mean, even if LGD can't find anything right now, they are still up against a Baron team for another minute. Like, if they don't lose stuff, that's a win.
Ooh, now LGD in a bit of a tough spot. They invested so much right there so they can grab Decade a little bit of space as well as buy some priority over this side of the jungle. But Weibo are saying, that's really cool. You can have this 3rd dragon. We're going to take the rest of your base instead.
Envyy trying to clear the wave as Weibo just walk up, take the inhib. Are they going to keep going? This is dicey as Decade going to go for a TP. TheShy cancels it, though. He did it right in front of him. Haichao's taken out. Weibo might just end the game. This is disaster for the Feathers.
Oh my God.
They get pulled back, and Envyy finds his moment. He wants to shut him down. Light charging on forwards, but Meteor's there to try and defend. Envyy with another feather fall, but he goes down. Light still surviving as Meteor will drop. Xiaohu there, ready to find a bit of damage and take down the jungler. Tibbers is here, and another minion wave is charging forwards. Weibo might just end.
Oh my God, and Decade the entire time was trying to get the 1v1. TheShy did not let him recall. After an amazing early game, Weibo, they turned it on in the 11th hour.
And it's another heartbreak for LGD, another game that feels like it could have been theirs. And then Weibo, one macro mistake, they call the bluff, charge down mid lane, and take the game. TheShy as well. that last minute solo kill, just to say, like, look, I did exist in this game. I did do something to put himself on the map.